Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to my review of what is undoubtedly my favourite Seiko release in ages. I'm talking a couple of years really since they released the Mini Turtle, which I still think is an underrated and underappreciated watch. It's the Seiko SRPE 50 something or other. I've got the 53, I have got the blue dialed version to show you, but there are a whole bunch of different colourways. There's two tones, there's nylon straps, there's various bracelet options for you as well. Now I haven't just bought this one, it is on loan to me from a subscriber in Sydney called John. Big shout out to you John, and a big thank you again because John actually loaned me the Smiths Everest PRS 25 that I reviewed on the channel a couple of months ago. I think John might have a bit of a type as far as watches are concerned. There are certain similarities between these two. Now, as much as I like this Seiko, this is not just going to be 10 minutes of gushing praise. Less is more, said the thumbnail, and there is a kind of duality. That one bites both ways. There's an elephant in the room today. Perhaps it's a baby elephant rather than a fully grown adult, but it's there nonetheless, and I'll talk about it later. But I think this is a great watch overall. Let's flip the camera and have a look at it. Alright, while I open the box, let's start talking about price because price always helps with context. The official US retail on these is between $275 and $325 US. This is the Seiko Australia website and you can see just how badly we get nailed over here. 500 Aussie dollars for the base models, up to 600 for the two-tones. Though as always you'd be bonkers if you paid retail. Here is an Aussie AD selling the two-tone rose gold one, admittedly not the most desirable version I don't think, for $150 off retail already. Cheapest prices I could find were on eBay for these. 335 Aussie, that comes in at about 235 USD, though bear in mind you're not going to get the full 3-year warranty if you are buying from somebody in the United Arab Emirates on eBay. I'll leave a couple of links in the description of the video, but you're on your own with this one really. New box though, and I do quite like this one. It's a kind of silver toned marbled effect here with the Seiko 5, that new slightly controversial logo on the outside, continuing on the dial of the watch as well, but I think this one overall far less controversial than the 5KX that I reviewed at the beginning of the year. And indeed there are a number of obvious similarities between the 5KXs and these new SRPEs, but thankfully there are a number of differences as well. It would have been all too easy and all too convenient for Seiko to just take off the rotating dive bezel, stick on a smooth bezel and roll out another bunch of 17 different colorways, but thankfully they haven't done that. They have reproportioned the watch, they have shrunk it down. Now I measure it at just under 40mm in diameter, bang on 12mm thick, typically Seiko short, 44 lug to lug with drilled lugs, 20mm lug width, bit of a taper on that bracelet which I really appreciate, down to 17.5, back up to 19.5 for the clasp. Sized up for me, 7-inch wrist. I had to remove I think a total of 3 links. This one weighs in at 133 grams. That is a fabulous set of dimensions, fabulous set of proportions on this watch. It really does wear fantastically, but it does have that look of a bezel-less diver. I mean, people have been modding SKXs and 5KXs for years and years and years to make them look like this, so Seiko I think finally cottoning on to that and launching a watch that you don't have to modify. Now this blue dialed variant is the 53. They run from 50 roughly up to high 60s. This one reminds me an awful lot, they all really remind me an awful lot of the Tudor Black Bay 3641, the bezel-less diver made by Tudor. So you've got the kind of legibility and those big indexes that you get from a dive watch, but you don't have the rotating bezel, meaning it's a much more compact look and it's a much more wearable watch I think for most people, most circumstances. So all the usual Seiko good stuff, 316L stainless steel case crown which is unsigned, fixed bezel. Now, smooth on some of the variants, it is brushed on some of the other variants. I believe the ones on NATO straps have a brushed bezel, but these slightly more dressy ones on the metal bracelet have a smooth, high polished bezel. We've got a display case back here, screw down, 100 meters of water resistance, but it's only a push-pull crown because this is only a Seiko 5 model variant after all. Hardlex crystal, so you don't get sapphire, it is only Seiko's proprietary mineral crystal. You don't get everything with Seiko for your $275 to $325 US. For example, you still get hollow end links, you do get solid links, but these are just push pins, and you do just get a pressed clasp, but it's not too bad. It kind of works overall as a package. Finishing is all Seiko standard stuff, high polish on the side and on the crown guards there, transitioning to brushed on. It's a kind of circular brush on the lugs to match the brushing on the bracelet. And like I said, there's a kind of two-tone bezel. The bottom half is brushed, the top half is polished. It's reversed on the nylon strap, the NATO strap versions. Zoomed right in on the dial, and it's all classic Seiko stuff here, but all very, very pleasant to look at. It really does work well as a design overall. They've been doing pretty much a similar thing to this for decades, so there's no reason why it shouldn't. Applied Seiko logo, but that new controversial 5, I don't mind it at all, and automatic are just printed on, and it's that kind of classic italicized automatic script. Indexes are very, very reminiscent of all the Seiko divers that you've ever seen. Handset is similar but different to what you've seen on Seiko divers before. They're just a little bit slimmer and a little bit more elegant. The hour hand is a little bit narrower, and the arrow-tipped minute hand is far more slender than you'd find on an SKX, for example. I do like the lollipopped, counterbalanced, very long needle second hand, and I do like the fact that they've darkened out the back end, giving that lollipop the appearance of just floating above that rich blue sunburst dial. Obviously heaps of different colorways to choose from, but this blue one really works well, I think. Being a Seiko 5, that means it comes with a day-date complication, and there's a nice little bevel edge to the dial around that complication there at the 3 o'clock. It's simple, it's clean, it's legible, it's all classic Seiko stuff. And those classic indexes and slightly slimmed down handset are stuffed full of Seiko's proprietary Lume Bright Lume. Kind of green glow you get from these, really adding to this watch's all day, everyday versatility. Lume like this and 100 meters of water resistance, fantastic all round watch this one, I reckon. It will come as no surprise to anybody that the movement powering this one is a Seiko 4R36, aka the NH36 when it's not in a Seiko. I have reviewed 100 to 150 watches featuring this movement, 24 jewel, hacking and hand winding, roughly 40-hour power reserve, bi-directional winding. They're quiet on wrist, they're reliable, they're rugged, they've got the DiaShock system. They're excellent, excellent movements overall. Just what you want at this price. But this is where this watch really shines. This is where it has really impressed me. It's when you get it on wrist. I think it looks fantastic and it wears perfectly. It wears just fantastically. Carries itself well. Really short lug to lug. I've got 7-inch wrists for your reference. Guys with 6.5, 6.25-inch wrists, no problem at all. And yet, even guys heading towards 8 inches, I think this is still going to look great. Beautifully proportioned watch. And because it's basically a bezel-less dive watch, it is super legible as well, which is great for a daily. Outside in some natural light, still no problems with legibility thanks to that well-proportioned handset and those big indexes. On wrist, just wears beautifully. Super short lug to lug and drilled lugs as well, which is a rarity at this price on a Seiko. Bit of a bonus if you want to swap this for straps. I reckon a definite strap monster here too. I don't know why more companies don't do a super short lug to lug like Seiko do. They do it so well. It really does make watches more comfortable, more versatile, and more saleable to more people, which is surely the point. But I did say this wasn't just going to be 10 minutes of gushing praise, and it isn't. There's the same set of moans and niggles that I talk about in pretty much every sub $500 US Seiko review. It's hardlex and not sapphire. It's an unsigned crown. There are hollow end links. And a press clasp, meaning that bracelet doesn't feel as good as it should. And while I'm moaning, the clasp is a bit too short actually. It's nice and compact, but you could easily add 0.5 centimetre and one more micro adjust hole. I think there's a distinct possibility that given how big these links are, you might end up just with the wrong side of the fit with only 2 micro adjusts. A third one would have been an easy fix. There are a number of compromises that have to be taken into consideration, therefore, if you want the strength, if you want the brand quality, the history, the heritage that comes with having the word Seiko printed on the dial of your watch. There is a burgeoning aftermarket that will no doubt be delighted to help you with a piece of sapphire crystal, a fancy signed crown, and a much improved bracelet. But that way, a $275 watch quickly becomes a $500 US watch, and there are probably better options at that that price than this watch. And then of course there is that elephant, the baby elephant in the room. And that baby elephant is of course the fact that up until about 2 years ago, Seiko were selling a watch with sapphire crystal and with a vastly improved 6-arm movement in the back of it for the same price as they're now charging with this one. Less is indeed more. They're giving you less, but they're now charging more for it. But that's not to say that this isn't a thoroughly appealing watch. If I didn't have a couple of watches that do a very, very similar job to this, I would be all over one of these. And I think that if you don't have a couple of watches that do a similar job to this, you should probably be all over one of these as well. So there you have it, undoubtedly my favourite new Seiko release of the last couple of years, not without reservations. Obviously they're not exactly throwing specs at you here for the money that they're asking, and there's always that lingering spectre of the Seiko SARB 033 from only a couple of years ago, doing a very similar job with better specs for very similar money. But we can't travel back in time, unfortunately, can we? If we could, we'd go back to the beginning of 2020 and make sure it turned out differently, that's for sure. I really like this one though. I think it is very wearable, it is handsome, it is legible, and it's going to tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people. They will sell a bucket load of these, I have no doubt. Thanks for watching, I will see you soon.